Hey y'all, welcome to Driver 38 Knives. This week we're going to be looking at a Stockman Stampede, open tag by Terry's Knives and Man Stuff. I thank y'all for clicking in and taking a look. This week we're going to be looking at a large Stockman, but it's not going to be a K75 this time. We're going to be looking at a Queen Steel number 49 large Stockman with the Winterbottum delrin stainless steel blades. It is a 1973 to 1975, somewhere in that couple years when this knife was made. It's in good shape, and we'll look at it up close in tabletop setting in just a second. Okay, let's take a look at this knife here. Okay, this is a Queen 1973 to 1975 large Stockman, and it's a Queen pattern number 49. They had different pattern numbers than the case. So the large Stockman in the Queen is a pattern number 49. Okay, this handle here is what Queen called the Winterbottum jig. And this is a delrin. And most of the time they still called it Winterbottum bone jigging, even if it was in delrin. They just used the word bone on top of it. But that's kind of confusing, so it is delrin, but it's Winterbottum jig. Okay, this knife is a 4 1/4 inch large Stockman. It is the same length as a K75. So let's look at one of those in comparison. They're actually the same length, but the Queen is a little beefier. Even on the back, you can see it's a little wider, a little beefier. In this range right here, it's a little wider. It's a little wider in the channel. And the Winterbottom jig usually didn't carry a shield. Some of them did, but most of them didn't carry a shield. Okay, let's look at the handle up close. Okay, they were jigged straight across, like Wolverine scratched them or something, you know. I like that look. Very nice. Okay, it is a 3-blade Stockman. Let's pull the clip to start with. Now these Queens, they got a half stop. The case does not have a half stop, but this knife here has pretty weak half stop. Just barely catches on that clip. Okay, the blade is etched Queen Steel number 49, made in the USA. The tang stamp is the tang stamp Queen used from 1975 till from 1973 till 1975. So this knife is somewhere between 73 and 75 according to the stamp. Okay, let's check the clip comparison here. About the same length, but the design is slightly different. The nail neck is back behind where the blade starts sloping down, and this is the nail neck is right equal and under where it starts sloping down. Pretty close to the same thickness. And a little bit different on the back also. Okay. Let's pull the sheep foot. Also has a half stop, even though it is pretty weak. It has a big sheep foot. And it has a big spade. It's a nice 3-blade Stockman. Very nice. Queen knives usually have really snappy action. I'll close these and let you hear it. They're really snappy. Nice knife. This is a stainless steel knife. Most Queens were stainless steel. Queen was the first successful brand to use stainless steel. They started using stainless steel in 1926, and they continue to experiment more than the other brands. In 1999, they used some ATS 34 steel on some knives. And in 2002, they were one of the first to use D2 in traditional knives. Okay, a 3-blade Stockman like this is one of the oldest knife designs. Nobody exactly knows when they came out and by who, because everybody has copied them. Everybody's claimed it's theirs at one time. So, but a 3-blade Stockman is a very useful knife. You got a pokey blade here. You got a sheep foot here for draw cuts and cutting towards you like this. And the sheep foot blade, the spade blade, in the old times when you had livestock, you could spay your livestock, and it's still good for precise cuts too, and carving. Makes a good carving knife, and so does this one. All Queen knives are very snappy, and this is a good example of that. Let's talk a little bit about Queen history here before we go. The Queen is made in Titusville, Pennsylvania, but it started out there. The plant was a Chet Morgan plant, and they started in Titusville, Pennsylvania in 1902. And in 1922, there was 5 supervisors and some people, blue collar people that worked right under them. They all got in trouble and got fired. They were taking some of the knife blanks, the unhandled skeleton knives, what they called them. They had the blades and the frame, but they didn't have the handles on them or the markings. And they was bootlegging them, selling them on the side, and they got caught doing it, so they fired them all. This is in 1922. Well, these guys and a few of the workers that helped them, they went up the road a couple miles and opened up a business, and they named their business Queen City Cutlery. Okay, and 11 years later, the Shat Morgan went under, went belly up, and the building and the equipment and the business was sold in a sheriff's auction. And guess who bought it? These 5 guys and the people that worked for them went down there and they bought it at auction. So they moved their operation back in the plant where they was at, and the people that fired them and run them off now work for them. Imagine that. The worm turned around on them, did it not? That's about all I got, but let me tell you how I got this knife. I've been wanting one of these for a long time, for years. I wanted me a Winterbottom Queen large Stockman. Well, I went to a knife show, gun and knife show. I carried a little cash with me, and I carried a couple knives that I could part with for a trade. So I went in the knife show, and I found a case lock back, a hammerhead. I bought it with cash. And I went around the corner to another little booth, and I found a great deal on case folding hunter. Bought it, cash. Well, I was fixing to walk out the door, and I seen a table over there, and it looked like Winterbottom handles. So I walked over there, and there this sucker was. And I had no cash, and not much anyway. I had some, but not enough to buy it. Well, got to talking to the guy, and I tell you what, I ain't got no poker face. He knew right off I wanted this knife and wanted it bad. He knew right off that I would do what I had to get it. And so I pulled out my couple of knives to trade. I pulled out one, and he looked at it and he says, yeah, no, that ain't gonna get it, all of it. So I pulled out my second knife to trade, and he looked at both of them, and he said, no, I'm still gonna have to have a little boot. So I wound up trading 2 knives and some boot for this knife here. I gave up a lot for it, but I may never run across one in this condition again. This is excellent condition, I think, for a 73 to 75. But anyway, that's the story how I come across this, and my advice to you is, if you're at a knife show or something like that, and you see one you really like, play dumb and act like you don't want it. Otherwise, you'll pay too much for it. I'll see y'all.